You're sitting here right now thinking you understand yourself. You think you know what drives you, what motivates you, why you make the choices you make. But you don't, because there are 3 dark personality types. And if you're watching this, you're probably type 2. You think you're in control. You think you've moved past the desperate need for validation, that you see the game clearly now, that you're smarter than everyone else still trapped in their emotions. But type 2 is the most dangerous trap precisely because it feels like evolution when it's actually a cage. And here's what terrifies most men. You can't fix what you can't see. You can't master what you won't admit. And right now, type 2 is running your life, making your decisions, sabotaging your relationships, and you're calling it strategy. You're calling it intelligence. You're calling it strength. But it's not. It's a prison, and most men die in it, convinced they were free. So if you're already thinking, I'm not type 1, I'm past that desperate need for approval, congratulations. You've just confirmed you're type 2, because type 2 is invisible to itself. That's why it's everywhere. That's why the smartest men in the room are usually the loneliest. And that's why you need to pay attention to every word that comes next. Because the few who can see this shadow clearly, who can look in the mirror without flinching, they don't just survive, they dominate. Not because they're good, but because they've stopped pretending and started mastering the darkness that actually runs them. Let's start with the one you think you've outgrown. Type 1, the performer, the validation addict, the narcissist. You know him. Maybe you were him. Hell, maybe you still are and just don't want to admit it. This man doesn't love himself. He needs you to love him. He walks into every room calculating not power, not strategy, but attention. Who's watching? Who's impressed? Who smiled at him? Who didn't? And in this desperate theater, he becomes a slave, not to people, but to their perception of him. He'll tell you he's confident. He'll perform charisma like a Broadway actor, but strip away the audience, remove the applause, take away the mirror. And what's left? Terror. Because the narcissist is not building a self. He's building a reflection, and reflections disappear the moment you stop looking. You'll see him everywhere, loud, polished, slightly too rehearsed. He smiles wide but scans constantly for disrespect. Praise him and he glows. Ignore him and he withers. Challenge him and watch the mask crack. One insult and he spirals. One rejection and he plots revenge. Not because he's strong, because he's fragile. An empire built on mirrors. And the moment the reflection stops flattering him, he burns everything down trying to get it back. But here's what makes type 1 tragic. He rises fast, faster than you. Because while you're thinking, he's performing. While you're hesitating, he's seducing the crowd. In politics, in business, in social media, narcissists dominate because they need to. They're not driven by vision, they're driven by starvation. And a starving man will do anything for food. So he climbs, he shines, he becomes exactly what you want to worship. Until the attention fades. And when it does, he doesn't adapt. He self-destructs, publicly, humiliatingly, desperately. Think of every icon who couldn't handle criticism, every leader who fell apart when the spotlight dimmed. It wasn't failure that broke them, it was withdrawal. They were addicts. And the drug was you, your praise, your attention, your validation. And when you stopped giving it, they collapsed. That's the curse of type 1. He never asks, "Who am I?" when no one's watching, because that question terrifies him. So he keeps performing, chasing compliments, dying inside, pretending he's alive. Most men live and die here, never realizing they spent their entire existence trying to be someone else's idea of impressive. But some evolve. They stop needing to be admired and start needing to win. They stop caring about applause and start craving control. And when that shift happens, type 2 is born. Welcome to where you probably are right now. The strategist, the quiet manipulator, the Machiavellian. You don't need attention anymore. You need leverage. You've learned that visibility is vulnerability, that the loudest man in the room is rarely the most powerful. So you've gone quiet. You watch now. You listen. You study people like blueprints, noting their fears, their desires, their weaknesses. Not to hurt them, to use them. And this feels like evolution. it feels like you've transcended the desperate hunger of type 1. But here's the trap. You haven't transcended it, you've just redirected it. The narcissist needs to be seen. You need to be untouchable. And that need, that compulsion to control everything, to predict everyone, to never be surprised, that's your new addiction. And it's far more dangerous than the first. You've become efficient, cold, precise. You don't lose your temper because you don't value anything enough to get emotional over. You've already predicted betrayal, already calculated failure, already written off everyone around you as pawns. And from the outside, this looks like mastery. You're the one behind the scenes, the strategist, the advisor, the silent force moving the board while everyone else scrambles. You speak only when it shifts power. You trust no one because you understand the game isn't about connection, it's about position, and you're always positioning. But here's what you don't realize. You're not free. You're isolated. You've traded the narcissist's need for applause for something equally binding. The need to always be 3 steps ahead, to never relax, to never trust, to never stop calculating, because the moment you let your guard down, the moment you stop watching, someone might do to you what you've done to them, and that terrifies you. So you play the long game, the quiet game, the game with no audience. You let others speak while you gather data. You let others lead while you control from the shadows. And when the time comes, you don't announce your move. You just pull one thread and everything collapses exactly as you planned. This is type 2. And most people watching this are here. You think you've mastered the game. You think you've evolved past ego, past emotion, past weakness. But you haven't. You've just become a different kind of slave. A slave to control, to strategy, to the exhausting, never-ending need to outthink everyone in every room. You've confused mastery with paranoia, and now you can't tell the difference. The type 2 man believes people are tools, not with hatred, just with clarity. Loyalty is negotiable. Emotions are liabilities. Kindness is camouflage. And truth is whatever wins. You've stopped asking if something is right. You only ask if it works. And this pragmatism feels like power. It feels like you've transcended morality, like you're operating on a higher frequency than the naive masses, still trapped in feelings. But you're not higher. You're just colder. And cold isn't the same as strong. Here's the curse you won't admit. No one really knows you, and that isolation, while useful, is suffocating. You can't have real relationships because real relationships require vulnerability, and vulnerability is a liability in your world. So you perform connection, you mimic intimacy, you say the right things, show the right expressions, but inside, nothing moves. You've become so good at reading people that you've forgotten how to be one. Every conversation is a chess match. Every friendship is transactional. Every alliance is temporary. And while you're building this empire of control, you're rotting from the inside. Because humans aren't designed to live without attachment, and you've severed all of yours in the name of strategy. You tell yourself it's necessary. That trust is weakness. That emotion is a trap. But late at night, when the game stops and the room is silent, you feel it, the emptiness, the exhaustion, the quiet horror of realizing that even if you win, even if you control everything, you'll still be alone. Because you've optimized for power and sacrificed everything that makes power worth having. But some don't stop here. Some type 2s grow tired of the game, tired of pretending, tired of planning. And in that exhaustion, something darker emerges. They stop strategizing altogether. They stop caring about outcomes. And what rises in that void is pure will, pure instinct, pure dominance. This is type 3, the one you should fear. The psychopath. He doesn't need your admiration like type 1. He doesn't need control like type 2. He doesn't need anything. And that's what makes him unstoppable. While you're calculating risks, he's already moved. While you're predicting consequences, he's creating them. Because type 3 has removed the one thing that keeps most men in check. Conscience. He feels nothing. No guilt, no shame, no hesitation, no fear. And in that absence, he becomes capable of anything. You won't see him coming. He doesn't rage. He doesn't perform. He's calm, too calm. While others panic, he watches, eyes cold, fixed, unreadable. He doesn't explain. He doesn't justify. He simply acts. And by the time you realize what's happening, it's over. This is not chaos. It's precision without morality, efficiency without empathy. He can lie without blinking, hurt without guilt, destroy without pause. Not because he's evil, because he's empty. The predator doesn't hate the prey. He just doesn't care if it bleeds. Type 3 thrives where others freeze. In chaos, in war, in collapse. The more unpredictable the world becomes, the more powerful he feels. Because he doesn't panic when rules break. He breaks them first, and this gives him an edge that terrifies weaker men. He is willing to go further, cross lines, ignore limits, because to him, morality isn't ethical, it's optional, and most people's restraint is just another weapon for him to exploit. But here's the trap. Type 3 doesn't build, he doesn't create, he doesn't nurture, he dominates, then moves on. He's not playing for legacy, he's playing for the thrill, and once the thrill fades, once there's nothing left to conquer, he implodes. Not with emotion, with void. Because unlike Type 1 who spirals when ignored, or Type 2 who recalibrates when exposed, Type 3 simply ceases to function when there's nothing left to destroy. He has no fallback, no community, no purpose beyond domination. And when domination fails, nothing remains. Just cold silence. He may win the war, but he walks off the battlefield alone. His name may echo in history, but no one will grieve him. And the cruelest part? He doesn't care. He never wanted to be saved. He only wanted to win. And once he's won, there's nothing left. So now you must ask yourself, which type rules you? Are you still performing for applause like Type 1, believing that if you're impressive enough, you'll finally feel real? Are you calculating every move like Type 2, convinced that control equals safety, that if you're smart enough, you'll never be hurt? Or have you crossed into Type 3, detached, efficient, untouchable, walking through the world like it's a game with no consequences? Most men are ruled by one, influenced by another, and pretending they're none. But the only path to real power is brutal honesty. Because once you admit which shadow governs you, you don't become weak. You become aware, and awareness is the beginning of mastery. Type 2 is where most of you are. You've outgrown the desperate need for validation, but traded it for an exhausting need for control. And if you're not careful, if you don't learn to direct this instinct instead of being consumed by it, you'll either stay trapped in isolation or descend into the void of Type 3. The choice is yours. Master the shadow or let it master you. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "I master my shadow." Let's see how many are ready to turn awareness into power. And keep watching. The next video will show you exactly how to weaponize what you just learned. See you there.